Hey everyone, and welcome back. One of the biggest challenges with live service games, especially in the gacha world, is how often they forget about characters who help build their stories early on. I'm sure a few titles come to mind for you already. For me, it's games like Wuthering Waves and Nikke. Amazing worlds, but they have this huge problem where a character shows up, gets 5 minutes of screen time, and then vanishes into the void, never to be seen from again. But at the same time, I get it. These are live service games meant to last for years. So how do you keep the old characters relevant while still bringing in new ones? How do you balance a long-term storytelling with the constant demand for fresh new content? So that brings us to the question, does Duet Night Abyss manage to fix this issue? Or will it fall into the same trap? I'm just gonna go ahead and throw out the major spoiler warning now, because I've completed all the main story quests, and this story hits the feels pretty early on. And man, this week in the gacha game world has been trauma after trauma. Between Duet Night Abyss and Nikke's latest event, I've been sitting in silence contemplating the meaning of life at this point. Anyway, let's dive into what I really wanted to talk about with the new Duet Night Abyss game. This world is built on discrimination, prejudice, and class division. At the top, you have the Hyperborean Empire, and its citizens, the Solarians. And then there are the Charons, an ancient humanoid race born with innate magical powers. They once played a major role in human history, influencing the strength of nations and helping the Solarians develop technology to fight the Filthoids. Now, they're scattered across the world and treated as second-class citizens, especially in the Empire, where they're seen as bad omens and symbols of misfortune. A lot of this information is available on Duet Night Abyss's website, which I'll link in the description. Our protagonist eventually meets a man named Henrik. She's told that he can help provide a roof over her head. And the first conversation you have with him, he's rude, dismissive, and absolutely not interested in helping. But then we meet Psyche, who returns home, hears your situation, and begs Henrik to let you stay, reminding him that there's room. Psyche becomes your first real friend, someone who teaches you about the city, helps you settle in, and even joins you on jobs. But during one of the missions, you notice something wrong with her. She insists she's fine, she just couldn't see for a moment. After the battle, you meet Outlander, and when you return to the city, Henrik is waiting, lecturing Psyche like she's a child. This dude Henrik is an absolute asshole in this moment. This pushes you to start investigating him. Eventually, you run into Psyche again, and she tells you that she's sick, and that everyone in Henrik's house has some kind of illness. She won't tell you what the illness is, which only makes things more suspicious. You eventually take Psyche out for a walk to clear her head. Henrik resists, but Psyche begs, and he finally lets her go. She wants to go to the lake. She's nearly blind now, and you have to guide her down there. She shares stories about her parents, and has you dig up a small box she buried years ago. Inside is an old camera. She wants you to have it, since she's losing her sight. At this point, her vision is completely gone. Your protagonist asks if she's under threat, and she offers to help her escape the village. But Psyche refuses. She can't leave Ice Lake. And the reason why? It's her secret to keep. She asks you to take a picture of her. After some time, Henrik arrives and tells Psyche it's time to go home, that it isn't safe for her outside. On your way back, you come across Kevin, a soldier burying a body outside the city. The body belongs to his friend, a Charon who succumbed to something called deterioration, a disease only Charons suffer from. There's no cure. Some Charons become Filthoids, while others mutate into even more powerful creatures, so powerful the military struggles to handle them. This is why the Solarians hate Charons. They blame them for the disasters caused by the deterioration. One of the first signs of deterioration is the loss of senses, going blind or deaf. Now that you know this, everything clicks. Everyone in Henrik's home is a Charon suffering from deterioration. Later, a scream echoes from the Hypno House. When you meet up with Snow, she explains that Psyche ran out looking like a wild beast and attacked her, and then fled the village. When you check inside the Henrik home, it's too late. Henrik is dying. He explains that he was sheltering Charons to help them pass peacefully, but he couldn't bring himself to do it to Psyche. He begs you to stop her before she hurts anyone, because she would never want that. We fast forward and you find Psyche and she transforms. time for the boss fight. Throughout the fight, you see flashbacks of her life, and the suffering Charon children endure. You also see Psyche's internal struggle as her deteriorating body tempts her to give in to the animal instincts. But your protagonist breaks through. Psyche manages to defeat her inner self, but in doing so, chooses to end her own life. She refuses to become a monster who hurts others. The military arrives and tries to finish her off, but you shield her. Sadly, Psyche still passes away. This is where we're introduced to Rhythm Fisher, a warrant officer in the military, and another Charon. Jumping ahead a bit, we learn Rhythm's story. Her younger brother joined the military, but was tricked and experimented on. To keep this short, another friend was experimented on too, Fantasio. Rhythm's brother died, so Fantasio pretended to be him to protect Rhythm from the truth. Because, here's a twist, Rhythm was the one who killed her own brother. Fantasio took his place to spare her from the guilt. You only play as Fantasio briefly, but his boss fight is arguably one of the best in this game. And afterward, the military finishes him off. So with these examples, these are both playable characters, and Duet Night Abyss is releasing new characters every 28 days. One of my biggest pet peeves in gacha games is how they forget about older characters. So, is this their solution? Just kill them off so they don't have to write about them again? I've talked about this with friends before. Gacha games used to never kill off player units, but now, that's clearly changing. I'm going to drop a spoiler for Nikke and Wuthering Waves for my final thoughts, so if you stick around, I'd love to have the conversation with you. Duet Night Abyss launched the same week Nikke dropped their 3rd anniversary event, Goddess Fall, and seeing playable characters die hit like a ton of bricks. And in Wuthering Waves, for a split second, we thought Rover killed Frolova in 2.5, before learning through the podcast and her ability notes that she actually survived. Wuthering Waves is another game that's completely forgotten its 1.0 cast. We haven't seen those characters since leaving for Renacita, and Nikke is notorious for introducing characters who get 5 minutes of main story screen time before disappearing into events you may or may not even consider canon or relevant. The only gacha games that consistently keep their casts around are anime IPs, where the characters just get new skins. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is killing playable characters the easiest solution to avoid forgetting them? How would you approach keeping a fresh game without abandoning the older cast? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for all your continued support. Be sure to check out the description for my social media pages and my Discord server if you want to chat some more about these games. See you next time. Bye!